to creating permanent and sustainable jobs?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, well, firstly, the economy has to grow to create jobs. Treasury projects a resumption in growth, with the economy growing at around 3% for each of the next 4 years and 170,000 net new jobs. The composition of the new jobs also matters. There is little point in the job creation that occurred under the last government, based as they were on a temporary property boom or backroom bureaucracy that the economy doesn't need and can't afford. That gave so many New Zealanders false hopes that have been dashed. That's why we're working on creating better quality jobs in an economy focused on saving and exporting.
Amy Adams.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Supplementary question to the Minister. What has been the economy's recent record in creating sustainable jobs?
The Honourable Bill English.
Speaker, in recent years, jobs in the export-related industries have shrunk, while most new jobs have been in government-related sectors. For instance, since 2004, half of all new jobs have been in public administration, health and education. While these are important, they have grown by more than 20%, over 4 times the growth of other sectors. Over the same period, employment in agriculture, forestry, fishing and manufacturing actually fell. We simply have more workers in the mostly public sector industries, and not enough employment has been generated in the more productive parts of the economy, which actually support the public sector.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, does he concede that inflation is forecast by Treasury in the budget documents to reach 5.9% next year, while wages grow by only 2.6%?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, the Treasury is forecasting inflation somewhere at that level, which is just slightly higher than it was in 2008 when that member was in charge. And at that time there were no compensating tax cuts. This time there are.
Amy Adams.
To the Minister, what is the government doing to create more long-term jobs?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, the government is intent on creating sustainable jobs as opposed to what happened in the last 4 or 5 years. We have initiated a multi-billion-dollar investment program in productive infrastructure, increased funding for science and research to flow into wealth creation, taken a range of measures in the budget to reorientate the economy towards saving and exporting and away from government spending and property speculation. It's pleasing to see over 20,000 new jobs created in the March quarter, and pleasing to see that there are forecasts of 170,000 new jobs over the next 4 years.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
To the Minister, if the Minister's so confident that New Zealanders are going to be better off, why didn't he include the full 5.9% inflation increase in the online tax calculator and let Kiwis decide for themselves?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, as I've explained to the member a number of times, trying to incorporate that calculation simply isn't logical. What the tax calculator does is show that with the increase in GST and the reduction in income tax rates, almost all New Zealand earners are better off.
Amy Adams.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister, is the Minister aware of any policy options that would prevent the economy from creating permanent jobs?
The Honourable Bill English.
Yes, Mr Speaker. I have heard some suggestions. They include increasing government spending whenever anyone asks for a bit more of it, crowding out job creation in New Zealand's public sector, New Zealand's productive sectors. I've also seen suggestions that we should borrow a lot more money overseas, recklessly running up more debt, and that we should increase Wellington-based bureaucrats. None of these things would result in sustainable jobs. They're all suggestions of the Labour opposition.
Supplementary.
Dr Russel Norman.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Finance Minister, does he agree?
Order. I apologise, Honourable Member. Now look, both sides of the House are just too noisy. I cannot hear Dr Norman. Dr Russel Norman.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Finance Minister, does he agree with Lloyd's of London in their report from earlier this year where they said, quote, "We are heading for a global oil supply crunch and price spike," end quote. And what steps is he taking to prepare the New Zealand economy for such a price spike?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, members of the public and businesses who are the users of fossil fuels are always taking into account changes in prices. They've been going up a bit lately, so I suspect a number of them have been taking measures to reduce their consumption.
Question number 2, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.